Hi everyone, Wayne here. So I was looking around on the internet. This is MSN, and I found the 100 greatest albums of all time, and it's mostly rock. I think it is rock, and rock or pop. And I found this list, and I thought I'd share it to you just for fun. I'm curious as to what you think. Okay, so as you can see here, this is number 10. This list goes all the way to 100. But here's number 10, Led Zeppelin 2 from 1969. 12 million copies sold. Weeks on Billboard 200, 117. So that's number 10. Number 9 is Wish You Were Here. Pink Floyd. 6 million copies sold. Weeks on Billboard 246. So number 9. Number 8, Rumors, Fleetwood Mac. 20 million copies sold. 263 weeks. 7, Thriller, Michael Jackson. 33 million copies sold. 327 weeks. Revolver, The Beatles, 5 million copies sold, 85 weeks. The White Album, 1968, The Beatles, 19 million copies sold, 184 weeks. I've seen lists like this before, and a lot of them has Sgt. Pepper's as number 1. But let's see, I don't know. I don't know. Let's keep going here. Oh, here's Sgt. Pepper's. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, 1967. Of course, the Beatles, 11 million copies sold. 222 weeks. Pay attention to that number because it gets crazy here in a minute. So that's number 4. Number 3, Led Zeppelin. 4 from 1971, 23 million copies sold, 281 weeks. Okay, 2, we're getting Abbey Road, The Beatles, 69, 12 million copies sold, 256 weeks. So what do you think is going to be number 1? I was a little surprised. I thought it would be Sgt. Pepper's. That's usually how it has. But no, this is actually a really good choice, the one that they have. And the winner is The Dark Side of the Moon, 1973. Pink Floyd, 15 million copies sold. Check this out. 937 weeks on Billboard 200. That's incredible. And it is a great album. You know, it's a timeless album. And of course, you know, these lists aren't that important. Everybody's list is going to be different. But this is a pretty solid list. For those that were wondering about the Rolling Stones, there were a lot of the Rolling Stones just below 10. But here's 10, there's 11, there's The Wall. Anyway, it keeps going down. Rubber Soul is 13. Rubber Soul was always one of my favorite Beatles albums. Nevermind, Nirvana, Back in Black, AC/DC. I always liked the more Led Zeppelin. But as you go on down, there are a lot of Rolling Stones songs in here. Or albums in here. I was saying about AC/DC. I love AC/DC, but mostly their early stuff. I absolutely love the Bon Scott stuff. It's just great. All right, so this is just a fun little video. I think it's a pretty good list. Everybody's list is going to be different. But things like this are fun. And Fleetwood Mac is a band that, I know who they are and I appreciate them, and I know a few of their songs, but I've never really listened to them a lot, and I would really like to. So that's something I'm going to do. All right. So the Dark Side of the Moon. 937 weeks. 15 million copies sold from 1973. I've always loved Pink Floyd as well. David Gilmour is, when it comes to tasteful playing and just great riffs and emotionally powered riffs and playing, it's hard to get better than David Gilmour. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that can match him, honestly, when it comes to emotionally driven playing. And all right, so thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to you later. So I'm curious, just as to what is your 3 favorite albums that influenced you as a guitar player? Not necessarily your favorite album of all time, but your favorite albums that made you want to play guitar or influenced the way that you play guitar. I'm interested to know. So here's my 3. So this album, I'm sure some of you have seen it before. This is the Beatles' Rock and Roll Music. I have to put this as number 1 because I remember just loving this as a kid. And this was the album that made me want to play guitar in the first place. And this was a compilation album that had previously released works on it. But, I was, like a 10 or 11-year-old kid, and I just loved this album so much. I can remember, playing with my friends, and we would listen to this. And it inspired me to the point where I actually got my first guitar. And I was about 11 years old, right around there. And it was a toy plastic guitar. Maybe I was 10 or 11. And I had this toy plastic guitar that couldn't be tuned. It didn't matter. I didn't know how to tune it anyway. But what I would do is I would strum on this guitar. And even though I didn't know how to play it, I could still kind of get rhythms out of it by kind of, by strumming and then muting the strings and then strumming again. And I could get some pretty interesting rhythms going. But, and what I would do is, I would sing Beatles songs while strumming my out-of-tune guitar, while a friend of mine, he actually had a drum set that he made out of cardboard boxes, and he would use pencils for the drumsticks, and we would sit there and just have fun with these songs, and so I have a lot of great memories with this album, and it was the album that made me want to play guitar in the first place, but also made me really fall in love with music. And that's why this album was so important to me. All right. So this is Decade by Neil Young. And this was one of the very first albums that I ever bought with my own money. And I was just totally in love with this album. This is where I discovered a style of guitar playing that that basically changed the way I play guitar. And some people say now when I play lead, it can be comparable to Neil Young, but there was something about his playing. It wasn't necessarily flashy. He's not fast. He's kind of a simple guitar player, really. But one of the most emotionally charged players that I've listened to. Songs like Cowgirl in the Sand, which might be my very favorite Neil Young song, and Down by the River. Those two songs were the two heavy hitters for me. Those were the ones that made me really, really want to play guitar, and especially how to learn how to solo. Because like Down by the River, it has kind of a big guitar jam in it, and I used to put the headphones on, and I would actually lay down on the floor with headphones on and listen to these songs and close my eyes, and it was great. And so this is album number 2 for me. So I have to put Paul Simon on this list. My third most influential album when it comes to guitar playing. This actual record right here, we had on a cassette tape, and I played it so much it actually wore out and stopped working. And I think that a lot of times Paul Simon is kind of underrated as a guitar player. I think he's a fantastic, amazing guitar player. If you listen to some of his music, just listen to these songs and really listen to the guitar playing. It's unbelievable. And I always wondered, like, how is he doing that? I don't know how he's doing that. And then also, not only that, but his lyrics. I might say he might be my favorite lyricist of all time, maybe. I mean, listen to, songs like, The Sound of Silence or Like a Bridge over Troubled Water. It doesn't get much better than that. When you're talking about poetic, beautiful lyrics, it really doesn't get much better than that. And I love this album. And I always tried to play some things like he did, but I never could. And I still can't. But as far as influencing me as a guitar player, I have to put this album and Paul Simon as number 3. All right, so this was just a fun little video, and I'm curious, what are your 3 albums that influenced you the most as a guitar player? If you want to, put it in the comments. I'd kind of like to see it, and maybe other people that watch this might be interested. We could use it as a way to find inspiration and to open up, how we feel about guitar and what kind of music we listen to help us on our guitar playing journey, so to speak. So, thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you soon.